clicks here. All right, recording is in progress. Go ahead.
Right. Hi, everybody. We will start the regular meeting May 24th, 6 o'clock. And again, please note that in compliance with Public Act 100-0640, it's been determined that we will have an in-person meeting is not practical tonight or prudent because of the current COVID-19 pandemic disaster and associated building restrictions. Public access to the meeting is being provided remotely, online, or by phone. Additionally, public comments can be submitted, could have been submitted to Gina for recitation into the public record during public participation. And with that, please indicate in the email that's public comment at the May 24th meeting. So with that, Rebecca, would you like to do the roll call, please?
Yep. Mr. Cadwallader.
Here.
Mrs. Cole.
Here.
Mr. Gross.
Here.
Mrs. Hanks.
Here.
Mrs. Humphrey.
Here.
Mr. Laswell.
Here.
Mr. Sherwood.
Here. All right, we'll move along to public participation. And Gina, do you have anything to share with us?
I did not receive any emails, and I see no public here in our meeting, so I don't think we have anything.
Okay. Well, we'll move along to the agenda review. Does anybody have any modifications to tonight's meeting? If not, we'll move along to the consent agenda, which we'll need a motion for the approval of the April 26th meeting minutes and the May 20th special meeting, and the approval of the bills.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, and second?
Yeah, I'll second it, Ron.
Okay. Any discussion about the minutes or the approval of the bills? Okay. Well, that was simple. I will need go ahead and do a roll call vote. Rebecca, if you would, please, for the approval.
Mr. Sherwood.
Yes.
Mr. Gross.
Yes.
Mr. Cadwallader.
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanks.
Yes.
Mrs. Humphrey.
Yes.
Mr. Laswell.
Yes.
All right. Well, motion carried. And we will move along to and adjourn to Cyan Die.
We'll need a motion for that.
So moved.
And second?
I'll second it.
I'm sorry, who motioned? It didn't come up on my
It
screen.
was Colleen,
Okay,
and Ellen seconded.
thank you.
No problem. We'll tag team this part because it gets hairy.
Okay. All right. Now we're in the reorganization and the election of officers.
You'll need
right?
to roll call that, Rebecca.
Okay.
Sorry.
Mr. Sherwood.
Yes.
Mr. Gross.
Yes.
Here.
Mr. Cadwallader.
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes.
Mrs. Hanks.
Yes.
Mrs. Humphrey.
Yes.
And Mr. Laswell.
You're
Are
muted,
you
Mark.
muted?
Oh.
We want to hear the kitty. Say yes.
Hello, yeah. Oh,
Thanks, Mark.
sorry.
Do you vote yes to adjourn Cyan Die, Mark?
Yes, I do. And so does
All right. At this time, Mr. Sherwood could appoint a president pro tem.
Well, I would like to appoint Gary as president pro temp.
Thanks.
All right.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Gary, would you like me to help you walk you through this from the cheat sheet? Oh, muted.
Yes, please. I
Okay.
saw you sent the email. I can't open the document yet, so.
Oh, that one is for the
Oh,
later.
that's true. That's for the
Yeah,
other
I
thing.
just have this
Okay.
one here.
Yes.
Gary, as President Pro Tem, you could call for a motion and a second to seat the newly elected board members.
Oh, okay. May I have a motion to seat the newly elected board members? Someone has to say something here.
So moved.
Second.
And because we are online, Rebecca gets to take a roll call vote.
Okay. May we have a roll call vote?
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Sherwood,
Yes.
Mr. Cadwallader,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanks,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphrey,
Yes.
Mr. Lasswell.
Yes.
Very good. At this time, Rebecca gets to administer the oath to our
Oath.
2 elected board members. So we talked about it a little before the meeting, so I'll let her take over.
Okay, so Mr. Sherwood, we will start with you. So you just have to repeat after me. So I, Alan Sherwood,
I, Alan Sherwood,
having been elected to the office of trustee
having been elected to the office of trustee
in the county of Tazewell and state of Illinois,
in the county of Tazewell in the state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee to the best of my ability.
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the trustee to the best of my ability.
Okay.
Oh,
Yay.
Yay.
thank you. I was afraid I'd mess up on the last line there.
Yeah, it was kind of, there wasn't a good break in that line.
Glad my ears were working well tonight.
Okay, Mrs. Hanks, are you ready?
I am ready.
I, Ellen Hanks,
I, Ellen Hanks,
having been elected to the office of trustee
having been elected to the office of trustee
in the county of Tazewell and state of Illinois,
in the county of Tazewell in the state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee to the best of my ability.
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of trustee to the best of my ability.
Yay.
I did it.
Yay.
Yay. Okay. At this time, Gary, you can open the floor for nominations of board officers.
It sounds like you just did it. No. Okay, we'll open the floor for the nomination of board officers. We start with president or the other end?
Usually we start with president. When someone
Okay.
nominates and someone seconds that nomination, and then you do a vote on all of them at the end, usually.
Thank you. Do we have any nominations for president?
I nominate Gary.
Oh, I meant to mute your line. I don't know. I didn't do it fast enough.
You don't have control. I will second.
it.
Oh,
Are there any other nominations?
Very good.
Okay.
Notes have been
Then-
taken.
We'll need a roll call vote.
No, I think you go all the way through the whole slate of officers. You
And
need a
then
vice
do all of them at
president.
once.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
you'll do a roll call vote at the end.
Okay. All right, do we have a nomination for vice president?
I would like to nominate Ron for vice president.
Is that Colleen?
It was.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have any other nominations for vice president? Nope, everybody's shaking their head no. All right, do we have a nomination for treasurer?
I nominate Mark.
I'll second it. It's
I
Marilyn.
will decline.
I would nominate, if Mark's declining, I'll nominate Ellen.
I'll second it.
Okay.
And do we have any other nominations for treasurer? No. Okay. And finally, do we have a nomination for secretary?
I nominate Alan.
I'll second it.
Wow. Well, thank you. I would accept that. I would like to try that too. Thank you, Mark.
Right. Do we have
Just-
any other nominations for secretary? No. Okay. Well, we have a slate. We vote on the entire slate at once.
Yeah, just for good measure to make sure we have our notes
This-
correct.
Yes.
Gary has been nominated for president. Ron has been nominated for vice president. Alan has been nominated for secretary. And Ellen has been nominated for treasurer. Are all the, okay,
Yeah, that's what I have to.
all right.
Okay. May we have a roll call vote
That sounds
for
good.
this slate of officers?
We'll need a motion for the slate
Motion.
of
Okay. May I
officers.
have a motion for the acceptance of this slate of officers?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. Now, are we ready for a roll call vote?
Sorry. Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Sherwood,
Yes.
Mr. Cadwallader,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanks,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphrey,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell.
Yes.
Very good. And now you'll just need a motion and a second to return to regular session.
Okay. Do I have a motion to return to regular session?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right. May we have a roll call vote to return to regular session?
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Sherwood,
Yes.
Mr. Cadwallader,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanks,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphrey,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell.
Yes.
All right, well, President Gross, the meeting is now yours.
Ooh,
Oh,
okay.
you-
Great. Okay. Let's see. We're up to the treasurer's reports. Do we have any items for and Ron is still the treasurer at this point, or?
Well, Ron is not technically the treasurer, but the report would have been his, so I think he
Okay.
can speak.
Yeah, Gary, I don't have anything to add over my last and final report as treasurer, unless Rebecca or Gina have anything to add to it.
Nope. They're shaking their heads no.
Nope.
Okay. All right. Then we'll move on to the director's report.
My report was in your packet, and just a couple things to expand on. Keep your eye out on the green space out there for a big old summer reading banner. It should be here later this week and hopefully put up, if not the end of this week, next week, because summer reading does start June 1st. Our expanded hours will start, expanded as in back to full hours, will start next Tuesday, June 1st. This week, starting tomorrow, we'll start some of the heavy lifting, if you will, literally, as we start to transition some of our spaces, returning tables and seating back to the floor. Our soft seating will still remain in storage for social distancing purposes and things. As an update, at this time, our masking requirement here at the library remains. With the CDC's announcement last week, there was quite a bit of discussion here as well as to how to handle that moving forward. At this point, Tazewell County is only about 38% vaccinated, and we're also getting into summer reading when we have probably the most children in the building. Of course, that's a little hard to determine right now given the pandemic, but we're also returning some things and things like that. It's not terribly practical to determine someone's vaccination status. So at this point, I'm recommending we just kind of hold tight on our masking requirement for the time being. I anticipate over the next couple weeks, there's going to be even more phase changes and recommendations and things like that. So we continually reevaluate that as well. And it is on our minds, but at this point, we're just kind of holding tight on that. Was there any questions from my report?
Don't see any. Okay, are we ready to move on? Right, next item is number 9, communication and correspondence, library statistics.
There were just a couple pieces that were included in your packet. Piece of publicity, I believe there was a thank you note in there as well as the statistics, unless someone has questions about it. They were in there. Circulation still continues to be down. We're hoping this summer we'll start to see some gains there. I mean, it does look like we have 300% more than last year, but if you'll remember correctly, we weren't actually open, so.
Yeah.
It tricked me last month when I was like, hey, we're not down that bad now. And I'm like, oh, wait, we were only open 2 weeks last year.
That's
So,
right.
But we hope to make more gains and growth on that as the world continues to open up more and we're able to do more things, so.
Okay, are we ready? All right, do we have a discussion item, the FY22 draft working budget?
Correct. So I did put just some notes regarding the working budget as it stands right now in your packet. Last year, if you'll remember correctly, this time last year was it was a big question mark. This year, I've kind of returned to being a little less conservative in determining what income might be and return to more of a, practical based on previous history type things. As I've always said, corporate replacement tax is something that I have to estimate, but have no reasonable way to estimate other than look at what we got last year and think, is it likely that we would get that this year? Who knows? So it fluctuates up and down. It's really hard to make an estimate. I did estimate a little bit on the lower side this year just because I wasn't sure. The state collects it and then they can use it for certain types of expenses before they distribute it. I anticipated that, they would have found more reasons to use it this year. That being said, we got $50,000 more than I even would have guessed this year. So unfortunately, there's just no good rhyme or reason to, I'm sorry, I'm laughing at the cat.
Yeah.
I will continue to look down at my notes so as not to get
Someone's
distracted.
being attacked, yeah.
Interest plummeted this year. That wasn't something we could necessarily anticipate. I was pretty conservative with it and was not even conservative enough on interest. So I've kept that really low. And so again, for expenses, as we're making progress on our compensation structure and plan, and we have a minimum wage that accounts for some of the salary expense increase. A lot of the things that I kept flat or reduced last year when I was balancing my conservative income with our conservative spending, I'm returning some funds back to those as well. Our tech plan has not a ton of expenses coming up over the coming year, but the following, particularly because we're extending the life of our children's computers by a year because they didn't really even get used terribly all that much this year. And there was a couple little parts pieces that we could do to make them last a whole nother year, which means all of our public computers will then be up for replacement, I believe, the following year. So I did kind of take some of the ones that are coming in expenses that we plan for the following year and hope to add them on the end of this fiscal year, just to try to keep the expenses a little more balanced between year and year. And then, like I said, I kept the health insurance flat. Our rates have been pretty steady. I don't necessarily know what like if we'll start to see effects of a pandemic on health insurance rates or not. I haven't necessarily read anything like that. But I kept them pretty flat. There's always some extra wiggle room there anyway. We do have some eligible employees that don't take our insurance, but we have to budget for them because at any moment they could walk into my office and say, this qualifying event has happened and I went on. So,
Yep.
Was there questions from the working budget, the draft working budget for next year at this point?
No. Everyone's shaking their head no. Nope.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. All right, that leads us to our action items. Action item number 1 is action item 2021-0502, approval of FDL participation in non-resident fee program. Do we have a motion?
I'll move.
Okay, and a second.
I'll second.
And discussion?
This is our non-resident fee calculation. We vote on this every year. We don't actually have, but probably about 3 houses maybe that we could even, sell a card to. But passing and having this fee established is important because it allows then our card holders to experience reciprocal borrowing privileges, which means that, if they walk into Pekin Library with their Fondulac card, they can check out right there. They don't have to get the stuff shipped. So reciprocal borrowing is tied to it as well.
Okay, is there any other discussion about this? No. All right, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Cadwallader,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanks,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphrey,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell,
Yes.
Mr. Sherwood.
Yes.
All right, that action item is approved then. And now we have the second action item 2021-0503, approval of director evaluation. This is an executive session in compliance with 5 ILCS 120-2C1. The appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. Do we have a motion?
I'll make
So
a
moved.
motion.
Guess that was Ellen.
I guess I'll second.
Okay. And this will be a roll call to go into executive session. Yes, may we have that?
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Cadwallader,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanks,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphrey,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell,
Yes.
Mr. Sherwood.
Yes.
All right, 6:45.
Right, that brings us to closing comments. Are there any closing comments?
I have some.
Okay.
They're not really comments, they're just kind of housekeeping things. Let's see here, with the change in officers and things like that, there's a couple housekeeping things as well as Colleen, we'll need you to swing by sometime and sign April and the May special minutes because you'll still be considered the secretary on those.
Okay.
Would anyone of the current check signers be available to come sign checks tomorrow?
Yeah, I can come in tomorrow after I drop the kids off at school.
Okay, Ron and Gary. Okay, very
Okay.
good. And then with Ellen coming on to officers, you'll probably be hearing from Rebecca some because we'll be adding you as a check signer. Colleen will be coming off of there. And as treasurer, there's like a surety bond and things like that. So Rebecca will be in touch with you as far as maybe some paperwork and things we need to get done.
Great.
Those are my closing comments. That was all.
Okay. Are there any other closing comments? No?
And
Okay.
any information you want to give me about what it means to be treasurer is welcomed.
Well, how about next week? You tell me when is good for you based on your schedule,
Okay.
and you can come on by. We'll sit and chat some, or
Okay.
we'll go over it some.
Sounds good.
All right. This leads to adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
And
second it.
Okay, there's a second. And may we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Cadwalader,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole,
Oh, wait,
I'm so sorry.
we missed something.
We actually need to go back, and you guys need to vote on that approval of the director's evaluation,
Oh.
the stuff that you did in the.
Okay.
we did.
No, we voted to get out.
You
of
have to do it in
executive
open
session.
session.
Oh, got you. We voted to come
All right.
out of session.
So this would be action item 2021-05-03.
Yes.
I
I
apologize.
will make a motion that we approve the director's evaluation and set her payroll amount at the increase of the percentage discussed in executive session.
Yeah, this is Ron. I'll second it.
Thank you. All right, may we have a roll call vote for that, please?
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Cadwalader,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanks,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphrey,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell,
Yes.
Mr. Sherwood.
Yes.
All right. Now, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
Yeah, I'll second it. This is Ron.
All right, may we have a roll call vote for adjournment?
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Cadwalader,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole,
Yes.
Mrs. Hanks,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphrey,
Yes.
Mr. Laswell,
Yes.
Mr. Sherwood.
Yes.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank goodness.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Good
I'm going
night,
to-
everybody.